Welcome to the broadcast, my dear fruits of May. It is the 1st of May. Can you believe it? It's May. How did that happen? My dears, how did it go so quickly? I don't understand it. But it is the 1st of the month. It is the first broadcast of the month. So in that spirit, it is time for me to remind you to subscribe to the channel. Check you're subscribed if you desire to be here. And if you don't desire to be here, then you can check that as well and you can unsubscribe. For me, it is quality that matters, not quantity. And I'm blessed to have the most loyal and most devoted viewers, known as the Fruit Basketeers, the Basketeers of the kingdom and way beyond, the most loyal and devoted viewers on YouTube. And that's a fact. So I thank you for being here and for subscribing if you mean to subscribe. And I would like to thank those of you who might have sent me a tip jar treat over the month of April, just been. I usually don't check my tip jar until today, the 1st of the month, so I'm not even sure if anybody sent one, but I'll know later on today, because the 1st is when I try to do all of my accounting. Boring, isn't it, my dear, getting the house in order, but it's got to be done. But sincere thanks to all of you, anyone who has popped along just to have a look as well, my dear. I am in the mood for something gentle today. I don't want any snottrana, I don't want drama today, I don't want the harkles today. So today I'm offering you a gentle introduction into May, my dear. We're going to spend some gentle time together, joyous royal activity. This sort of thing, my dear. You might not know that May Day here in the kingdom had traditional celebrations going back many centuries, almost 1,000 years, I think, ancient traditions. Did any of you in the kingdom, when you were at school, used to have the maypole and go maypole dancing? Yes, we did, my dear. Trotting around the maypole with ribbons. Wonderful. Did any of you celebrate locally? I must confess that I didn't. And St. George's Day goes under the radar as well, doesn't it, my dear? You know, I'm as guilty as anybody of not giving enough attention to these rituals of the kingdom from time to time, but we need to mention them, don't we? The screen behind me that I mentioned in the previous broadcast, it's just one that I'm trying out and experimenting with, my dear. So if you don't like it, don't worry, it won't be here permanently. Well, I might bring it in and bring it out, although it is so heavy, I've got to tell you, it's so heavy and hard to move around. But I'm just trying things out here, as you know, my dears. The Prince and Princess of Wales, by the way, showed a very tantalising trailer on their socials from Kensington Palace. Happy May Day, they say. And apparently, accompanying this gorgeous footage, which is so sublime, isn't it? Mother Nature is coming soon. Very mysterious, but quite exciting. Well, as you know, Catherine's been particularly drawn to the benefits of nature and the sanctuary of nature as she's been undergoing her treatment and going into remission, of course. Now, I wanted to start by asking you the question, what does the name Ethel Caterham mean to you? Ethel Caterham. The name and the face. Does it mean anything? Well, I shall tell you. Ethel Caterham lives and breathes on this 1st day of May 2025. And this is quite extraordinary because she was born an Edwardian. An Edwardian on the 21st of August 1909. This blows my mind. It blows my mind. Ethel is the last surviving subject of King Edward VII, and she is the oldest known Briton to ever live. She is 115 years old. Isn't that something? And isn't she gorgeous? Isn't she absolutely divine? Divine she is. As I've explained to you before, when you reach the end of the winter season, if you live to 100 years old, you don't just drop off, my dear. Nature is a cycle. You enter your second spring. And there she is in the height of the second spring. And it's glorious. 1909 she was born. Well, do you know, I shall share with you, my dears, there is one material object that I desire more than anything else in this world, and that is a painting. And I'm not going to specify exactly who it is or the artist, because I want the original of this painting. I have prints of this painting, which is done of a village that I grew up in. A sort of country village, very bucolic, semi-rural. and it was painted in 1909, the year that Ethel was born. Which is astonishing to me because, the village today looks very similar, very much the same. It has all the old buildings that were there, it has much of the charm, but it's lost so much of it, of course, over the years, because the scene in the painting was, of course, pre-war, it was before the turn of technology, it was old England. And I look at the print that I have of this painting. I look over the auction rooms every week under this artist's name to see if it's going to come up and if it'll be discovered and found. It was printed in a book, over 100 years ago, this painting of a village that I especially love. But I want it. It's my heart's destiny to find it one day. That will be the most precious item that I could ever behold. But to think that there is a Britisher alive at the age of 115 right now, who was alive on the day, or at least the year, that this painting was painted, is quite something. It's quite something. Well, she is now the world's oldest living person, after the death yesterday of a Brazilian nun who was 116 years old. She lived to 116. But Ethel was born in Hampshire, and she was raised in Wiltshire, beloved of Queen Camilla, and now she lives in Surrey, where she's been for 50 years, and she credits for her longevity never arguing with anyone. She says, "I listen and I do what I like." And Ethel has lived through 6 British monarchs: Edward VII, George V, Edward VIII, George VI, Elizabeth II, and Charles III. The Duke and Duchess of Rothesay, Lord and Lady of the Isles, continued their anniversary sojourn to the Inner Hebrides, delighting the communities of Mull and Iona. The Isle of Mull, that we glanced at last time, is the 4th largest island in Scotland, with a population of 3,000. It's a home to the tourism, farming and fishing industries. And its tiny neighbour, Iona, has a population of 170 people, just 170, but it gets 130,000 visitors a year thanks to its ancient history and its traditions, the ancient history and traditions that so many malevolents would wish to dispense of. But fortunately, we have William and Catherine to help look after them. And after their tour on Tuesday, yesterday the Rothesays visited an ancient woodland to meet the Mull and Iona Ranger Service, which plays a vital role in conservation, biodiversity, protection and education. The forest is part of the Atlantic rainforest and is one of Scotland's most precious habitats, with work underway to protect and restore the forest and its rare and vulnerable wildlife. The Rothesays joined in with Ardura Acorns, an early years outdoor play area with nature trails, trail building, animal tracking and storytelling. The Royal Foundation of the Prince and Princess of Wales announced support for the Ranger Service to ensure their work conserving and championing nature continues, and after a ferry trip they popped in and out of Iona to foster unity within the community. And as I often complain about, we hear this mantra, diversity is our strength, diversity is our strength, and it's all rubbish, it's all nonsense on stilts, of course. And as a few people have said recently, actually it is unity that is our strength. Unity that begins in the rural communities, the local communities. And the idea of the Prince and Princess of Wales is to promote this sense of belonging and community and the principles of simple village life so that they can be reimagined and replicated throughout the rest of the kingdom as an inspiration. Do you understand? And they spent a merry hour at the village hall, mixing with the locals and catching up on all the village gossip. Well, would you Adam and Eve it? It's been 15 months or thereabout, maybe just under. It was February, wasn't it, of last year when the king received his cancer diagnosis. And he's still undergoing his regular treatments while living with cancer. And as you know, Catherine, who was also diagnosed in 2024, is now in remission. And we are witnessing her gradual return to work. And I'm glad that she's taken her time to do so, nursing herself back to physical health, but also spiritual health. Really important, especially for a future queen. I think it'll stand her in great stead. But last night, their Majesties, accompanied by the Duchess of Gloucester, hosted a reception in recognition of the incredible work that community-based organisations do to support those living with cancer and to raise awareness of preventative actions that people can take to avoid cancer. And the King's medical care is going in a positive direction, we're told, and he's going to be making state visits and have some overseas travel and adventures that are planned for later in the year. And he's going to be leading the nation's VE Day anniversary celebrations next week. It's the 80th anniversary. Can you believe that it was 5 years ago when the late Queen hosted Donald Trump, didn't she? Do you remember? For the celebration in Portsmouth of the D-Day landings, or the commemoration, I should say rather, excuse me, not celebrations, for that 75th anniversary. 5 years thence. 5 years thence. Now we turn to 80 years. And their Majesties were joined by well-known campaigners and representatives of the King and Queen's cancer charity patronages, with showcases from dancing troupes and choirs. And the Change and Check choir was made up of 26 women who all spotted their symptoms of breast cancer after seeing the awareness campaign on the TV show Lorraine. And there's our Lorraine. Well, without wishing to sound at all sanctimonious or pious, I do have a platform where perhaps 10, perhaps 20,000 people will be watching this video. So I am going to take this moment to encourage as many of you as possible to check what needs to be checked, whether that's your breasticles or your plums, whatever equipment you've got, my dear. You know how to make the checks, and if you don't, a quick Google will show you how. My mum discovered her lump in her breast when she was in the shower, running her hand over this sort of area, I think, felt something unusual. You know what feels unfamiliar to you. I felt something unfamiliar in the past. I went and got it checked. And like me, you'll likely turn out to have something benign. But don't put off any invitations you've had for screenings, mammograms. Confront your fears. Do not indulge them. If you're scared, just put one foot in front of the other. Just take the next step. You know, it's my advice for life, actually, if I was to give any advice. When anything and everything is overwhelming you, just put one foot in front of the other, and you've done that. And then you take the next step. Do you understand? And you'll feel better either way when you are in capable hands. And don't be afraid to ask for a second opinion where necessary, and get a second opinion if you're not satisfied with the first. It's important that you stay in touch with the messages coming from your body. Don't put it off. If there is something in the back of your mind that you've been trying to ignore, don't. Okay, I'm going to get stern with you. But I mean it. And let Sarah York, our dear Fergie the Lurgy, be an inspiration to you, because she made a surprise turn after her recent experiences of breast and skin cancer, and she is a perfect example of what can be accomplished with early detection. She was diagnosed after just a routine mammogram. She had not experienced one single symptom, and thankfully that meant that she was able to detect what was brewing early, and she had a mastectomy, and she had a reconstruction, and it was very difficult for her and scary, but now she's thriving. So that must be an inspiration, and she lavished praise, as she often does, on His Majesty. She said regarding Charles, "I think the King is an absolutely brilliant example on revolutionising the discussion around cancer. Also, he does that in everything he does. He always puts his whole heart into everything he does." And the King said that he wanted to echo the words of Dame Deborah James. Do you remember her? She got very chummy with William, didn't she? Before she died. But to those who receive an upsetting diagnosis, the King said, in Dame Deborah James's words, "Find a life worth enjoying, take risks, love deeply, have no regrets, and always, always have rebellious hope." And you can pause the screen here if you wish to read the entire message, but the highlights, in recognition of all who work to support cancer patients and their loved ones, read, "What strikes us repeatedly is the profound impact of human connection, whether in the careful explanation from a specialist nurse, the hand held by a hospice volunteer, or the shared experience in a support group. These moments of kinship create what I might call a community of care, one that sustains patients through the most difficult of times. So to all the researchers pursuing pioneering breakthroughs, to the healthcare professionals providing specialist treatment, to the volunteers offering comfort, or campaigning to raise awareness, and to the fundraisers enabling all this vital work, you have my whole family's deepest admiration and gratitude. Your commitment to early diagnosis, ever more successful therapies, and truly holistic care represents the very best our country can offer. I am so very grateful for all that you do. Legs 11. Two fat ladies, 88. Does this mean anything to you? Sophie's been at the bingo, and these are terms and expressions that are used in conjunction with bingo calling here in the kingdom. And these bingo terms have been associated with the numbers from 1 to 90 for a very long time, actually. They were originally used in London in the mid-20th century, and they were used to impart secret codes and messages. And of course in the bingo halls, which were and are still very large, they helped to differentiate between various numbers such as 15 and 50. You know, for the old dears, so 15 was young and keen. Young and keen, number 15. And number 50 was a half a century. These weren't the Cockney rhyming slang, you understand. These were their own terms and expressions. 52, for example, which I didn't know, and this is a real gem. 52, Danny LaRue. I've spoken about my love for Danny LaRue before. Much admired drag queen of the kingdom, but I never knew that he represented number 52. Wonderful. Number 3, cup of tea. Number 17, dancing queen. And I think this predates ABBA, doesn't it? Dancing Queen, only 17. Maybe they took inspiration from the bingo halls of the kingdom. Who knows? And I love number 30, Dirty Gertie. 46, up to tricks. We also call the flabby parts of ladies' arms. You know when you get those adorable flabby bits of flesh hanging off of Nan's armpits. You know. Granny's arms. So we call them bingo wings here in the kingdom. Bingo wings, because you see them in the bingo hall with the ladies, the lovely ladies, you know, with their bingo cards, and they're flapping about with their bingo wings. Isn't it charming? Well, our Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, she joined a group of 80 pensioners, Chelsea pensioners in fact, for 3 rounds of their weekly bingo night. Tuesday night bingo at the Chelsea Pensioners Club fosters camaraderie and is a cherished weekly activity that helps alleviate loneliness, promotes well-being and a sense of community. And of course, Sophie is an outrageous flirt, isn't she? Which we could see on full display here with the pensioners, and the fellas adore her. They adore her, it's got to be said. Well, the ladies do as well. We're very lucky with our royals because Catherine, Queen Camilla these days, not in the past, but Queen Camilla and Sophie are all absolutely adored by men and women alike. You know, it's not one over the other. The club has a licensed bar, a games room and a quiet room for reading, and serves as the social hub of the Royal Hospital, which is home to 300 pensioners, and these Chelsea pensioners have previously served in the British Army. That's what all of that's about. So the Duchess was in very good company. She's been a busy bee, actually. I can't keep up with the gal. I really can't keep up with all her activities. But she was also at Surrey Dock Farms, marking her new patronage of social farms and gardens. This is a working city farm and a charity that enables the community to learn about farming food production and the natural environment. And Sophie attended a service for the Victoria Cross and George Cross Association at the St Martin's in the Fields Church in London. And actually that reminded me that St Martin's in the Field is where I went for carolling in December. Did I tell you about it this year? I usually tell you where I go. The year before I think was St Paul's. I think the year before that was Winchester. I tried to go and see a carol service with a friend. This year it was actually, well, last year now, it was with Miss Fairfax actually. We went along to St Martin's in the Fields, which is slap bang right in the middle of London, just off Trafalgar Square. But it was actually the first time that I'd been inside it. I'd been on the steps a million times. Actually, I've had a few encounters on the steps that might have been a little bit wicked and sinful, and not the kind of encounters with gentlemen that one would or should have outside a church. Sex is evil, sex is sin. Sins are forgiven, so get stuck in. What a philosophy. But yes, I will throw up the footage that I found, just in case I forgot to do it in the past. I might have shown you this already, but it was the atmosphere outside St Martin's in December, mid-December, before Christmas. Oh, it was swarming. The entire place was absolutely swarming. We couldn't get inside a pub because they were full. We couldn't get something to eat before the service, which was Christmas by candlelight. Actually, on this specific night, they brought in a brass band. That's why I chose this particular venue, because I love the warm sound of a brass band at Christmas. Actually, they didn't conjure up quite the charm that, a sort of Salvation Army band conjures up, a brass band that you pass in the street. And it was quite a small brass section, if you will, but it was still, of course, utterly charming. And the Duke of Edinburgh has been having lots of fun without Sophie, but then absence makes the heart grow fonder. But he's been in America, he's been in New York, as you know, and he was photographed looking very well and very dapper in Philadelphia at the royal reception and dinner in support of the Independence Historical Trust and the Duke of Edinburgh Awards. He's been over there promoting that. And he was at Philly High School on a visit where he praised the pioneers who are embarking on his programme, and he also attended the dedication of the Benjamin Rush Garden and the Bicentennial Bell for Queen Elizabeth II. This event was hosted by the National Historical Trust, and he attended a recital at St Thomas's Church in his capacity as patron of the London Mozart Players. So he's been having a whale of a time. And we'll round up today's gentle show with a Keepsake Kaleidoscope, beginning with Donna. Donna said, "The keepsake from River is wonderful, and it is indeed a lovely souvenir of the time spent together on the broadcast. I happened to already have a Bakelite frame that suits the small memento very well for display, and the French saying upon it is more meaningful than you could possibly have known." And excuse me, Donna, what is that I spy there in your tableau? Is that an invitation to the coronation from Edward Norfolk? It looks like the real thing. There's an envelope next to it with the corresponding date stamped onto it. Was that sent to you by the Duke of Norfolk? Did you attend the coronation? Oh, you got to let us know, Donna dear. My soul prays, my heart loves. Next up is Ivy. Ivy dear, Mersey dotes and little lambsy Ivy, a kiddly Ivy too, wouldn't you? Dear River and Miss Fairfax, I received my keepsake today, and it absolutely made my day. It made it more special that I received an ivy embossed card from 1907. Oh, my giddy heart! I've displayed everything on the mantel in the living room so I can always see it. Thank you so much for doing this for your loyal basketeers and for bringing that extra bit of joy and delight to me with your broadcasts. Much love to you, River. Love, Ivy from New York. And much love to you, my dear. And the thanks are reciprocated. I'm so glad that it brought some joy to your day. Karen Gretchen of Australia is next. Karen Gretchen. I love it. Karen Gretchen. Dear River and Miss Fairfax, my keepsake arrived in the mail today and cheered up my day. Thank you so much. Huge Christmas fires are blazing bright, gleaming on roof and wall, and glad hearts revel in their light, unlike in hut and hall. Lisa says, Dear River, thank you so much for the lovely keepsakes. I was thrilled when I received it. I love it. Lisa. And she displays this royal tableau where I join the ranks of royalty. I'm deeply honoured. You know, it is really humbling and very thrilling to be put on display in such a way. But I've got to tell you, when I see them up there, I'm very grateful, but then my mind goes to the moment when you decide to take me down. Whether that's next week, next year, in 10 years, or perhaps when you expire and a loved one takes it down. But at some point, it's going to be removed, isn't it? What goes up must come down. And I'm sure, perhaps some of you will take a disliking to me at some point in time and you'll rip it up. You'll go, what did I ever see in that river? And you'll rip it up or you'll throw it off the mantle. Yes, make sure you do it dramatically, my dear, when you do it. Throw darts at it or something, I suppose. When the time comes, it comes, doesn't it, my dear? If monarchy teaches us anything, it is how ephemeral we all are. Well, Susie provides misty watercolour memories for us and says, Dear River and the lovely Miss Fairfax, it's been a sunny spring day. By the way, I think some of you don't realise that Miss Fairfax is an actual human being. She does actually exist. She's real. She's not a figment of my imagination. She shuns publicity, though. She's very royal. She doesn't want publicity. I will never be able to get her on camera, I don't think. Maybe a glimpse. I will perhaps try to get her voice one day. Who knows? Maybe if the mood takes her. But she's so no nonsense. This is why I adore the girl, my dear. She would never watch my channel or any YouTube channel or any of that kind of nonsense, my dear. No, not for a moment. Not at all. Not at all, my dear. I digress. River and the lovely Miss Fairfax, it's been a sunny spring day today here in my little New England town, but it became brilliant when I opened my mailbox to find my keepsake. I felt very special when I saw that a piece of your collection that you've shared with me was hand-painted, and then to open it up and see my name written in an old hand was magic. Yes, you were lucky, my dear, you got a hand-painted one. I remember it. I remember sending that one and thinking how pretty it is. My simple tableau features two of my favourite royal antiques alongside two figures from John Singer Sargent portraits. I'm off to visit Sargent's Madam X at the Met soon. How exciting. What I wouldn't do to have you as a companion on the visit. This long-time basketeer thanks you from the bottom of my heart. Well, it's reciprocated, Susie dear. Thank you very much indeed. And I remember that. I remember the card next to it with the sheep and the sunset or the sunrise, whatever it is. I thought that was a charming picture. I do hope none of you were disappointed with the little mementos I included with the keepsake. You know, I always meant to include them as a free sort of extra token. Do you understand? The keepsake is my picture and my signature, my notelet, sent to you with the golden pear and the embossments. That's the keepsake, but I decided I wanted to represent Tip Jar Corner by throwing in some pieces from my personal collection of nostalgia, ephemera, because it's everything we talk about and discuss, isn't it, my dear? And so I threw them in as extra tokens, but I began to start feeling afraid that people might be disappointed because my intention was only to include some scraps from my collection, you understand. They were never supposed to be the main event, but I have found that they have delighted many of you, and yes, some of them are really very special indeed. Thank you for your company today. Remember to get out in nature, if you're able to channel the raw spirit, and also to check your bits, or get someone else to check them for you, my dear. I'm wishing you a beautiful month of May, and hopefully we'll have many happy broadcasts together and lots of gaiety over the month. Ta-ra for now, and toodle pip.